My name is Jan, and I am an audiologist at Hearing Partners of South Florida. And today our chat is on ear protection. Okay. So my question is, are you using ear protection? And if not, why not? So again, I am Jan, one of the audiologists at Hearing Partners of South Florida. And we're going to talk today about ear protection, the different types of ear protection, why you should use ear protection, when you should use ear protection, what happens if you don't use ear protection. So that's kind of our chat for today. But Hearing Partners of South Florida has 3 locations. One is in Jupiter, one is in Delray Beach, and one is in Boynton Beach, Florida. And there are the phone numbers listed. Please feel free to give us a call anytime, whether it's about this chat or about any questions you may have. Just go ahead and give us a call. So let's talk about ear protection. There are many different types of ear protection. One of them are these plugs. I call them ear plugs, EAR plugs is the name of them. They're soft, spongy. You kind of roll them up real thin and put them very deep in your ears. And that's the trick. You must roll them up and you must put them in deep. If they're half hanging out of your ears, they are doing you no good at all. So clean hands. You don't want to have oil, grease, dirt on your hands, because when you roll them up, then you're getting that onto the spongy plug and putting that in your ear. Not a great idea. So again, roll them up real small and go ahead and put them in your ears. This shows you kind of a picture of the size of it. That's not rolled up by any means. That's a normal one. And you need to roll it up in your fingers and put it in your ear deep, and then it expands while it's in your ear. The second type of ear protection are ear muffs, and you may have seen people who have used these. Really, I like it when you use both. You use the EAR plugs rolled up in your ear deep, and then you put muffs on top of that. A lot of people use muffs when they go to a shooting range, if they're going to practice any of their skills at a shooting range, and that gives you very good protection. I really like to have both protection, and not only at a shooting range or being exposed to artillery, but even if you're going to mow a lawn, blow leaves, use a saw, definitely I would wear ear protection, and having the double of the EAR plugs in your ear and then the muffs are great. You also can come into the office and have earplugs made for you that are going to fit your ear perfectly. We take an ear impression of your ear, which is what this picture is showing you, and then we send them to an ear mold company, and they make the ear protection that fits your ear perfectly. It's very comfortable. It's a good way to have ear protection. Again, if you're going to be at a shooting range or any place that's really loud, I would like you to use ear protection and the muffs on top of it. So let's talk a little bit about what happens if you're exposed to loud noises. This is an audiogram, and this is where we plot our information when we do a hearing test. When you look at this, from the top going down to the bottom is soft, going down to loud. When you look at the bottom, going from left to right are the frequencies of the sounds, going from low-pitched all the way up to high-pitched. When you look at an audiogram, red is the right ear and blue is the left ear. When somebody has been exposed to loud noises, whether that is artillery, whether that's a leaf blower, a snow blower, if you were exposed to a firecracker, even when you were 10 years old that went off near your ear, you may end up with this high frequency hearing loss. So here you can see moderate loss to severe loss in these higher frequencies here. And that's what we'll see when somebody has been exposed to loud noises. Maybe you knew it, maybe you didn't know it, or realize at the time that it was going to cause a problem, but you do end up with a hearing loss. And a hearing loss like this is going to cause you difficulty in a noisy environment. If you're in a restaurant, if you're around your family and everybody's talking at the same time, that's when you may notice that you're having some difficulties with your hearing. So let's take a look at the ear, and let's look at what ends up happening when you are exposed to loud sounds. So I've said over and over again that we hear with our ears and our brain. It's a system, the two work together. Our ears hear the sound, but it is our brain that interprets it. Let's get a little bit louder and bigger look at what this is here so we can talk about it. So sound comes in through the ear canal, makes the eardrum vibrate, which in turn makes one of the small bones of the middle ear vibrate, makes the second bone of the middle ear vibrate, which makes the third bone of the middle ear vibrate, which sends an impulse to the nerve of hearing called the cochlea, and then an impulse up to the brain that says, I hear sound, I hear somebody clapping. That is how the ear and the brain end up working together. When you have been exposed to loud noises, your difficulty can be in this cochlea, in this nerve of hearing. Sometimes you can have problems in the middle ear area, and we would be able to see that not only on the hearing test. Sometimes when we look in an ear, we can see it, but sometimes we can't. And then it is the nerve of hearing, which we can't see when we look, but we will see it on the hearing test. So what ends up happening? So in this top picture here, you see hair cells that are in that cochlea. It is those hair cells that move that send that impulse up to the brain. What you're seeing in this bottom picture here are damaged hair cells. So this is somebody that has been exposed to noise, whether it is artillery, whether it's going to a rock concert over and over and over again, and you have really loud sounds, a firecracker that went off near your ear, using a lawnmower every single day or once a week for years and years and years, or a leaf blower or a saw. Any of these loud sounds can cause these hair cells, which you'll see right here, to be damaged. Once you have that, those are permanent. We can't do anything with that. And at that point, you might begin to say, I'm having trouble hearing, and then we would talk about hearing devices for you. But our goal is to go ahead and protect these hair cells. And that's what ear protection does, so that you don't end up with damaged hair cells, and us talking about what we can do to be able to help you hear better in situations. Some things that do cause that damage is that firecracker, those fireworks that are going off. So as we're approaching the 4th of July weekend, be careful. Make sure you're not sitting right next to where somebody is blasting them off. When you're at a rock concert, you know, sometimes you say, yay, I've got great seats, but it's right near the speaker. And what happens is that you end up with a temporary hearing loss after being right near that speaker. Sometimes what we end up hearing is that people say, yeah, I wear ear protection when I go to the shooting range, but you took it off because you were done, but the person next to you shot their gun and you got exposure to their gunshot. Those are all things that can end up happening, along with using a saw, using a lawnmower, using a leaf blower. These are all items that are very, very loud and can cause that damage to those hair cells. So some fun facts is that sound travels at 770 miles per hour, which is fast, very fast. That's faster than a jet flies. So that what ends up happening is by the time you realize that there is a loud sound, basically, you've already done the damage. You know, you putting your hand over your ears definitely helps, but it's not going to stop that damage that is there. Definitely don't put cotton in your ear. That does no good at all. But again, just to show you how fast sound can travel, even though you may cover your ears, you may have some temporary damage that goes on there. We hear sound from 20 to 20,000 hertz, so a wide range. You know, they say that dogs can hear even more than that, but humans end up hearing between 20 to 20,000 hertz, and yet we only hear speech from 500 to 3,000 hertz. That's the only area that human speech falls in. Below that, 500 hertz may be the bass on a stereo. Above that, 3,000 hertz may be a bird chirping, a flute playing, but that just shows you the amount we hear, yet where speech ends up falling. So we talked about the small EAR plugs that you roll up with your fingers and you put them deep into your ears. One time I used to travel a lot, and I would see pilots when I would get on an airplane going out, and they always go out and check out the plane. And one time a pilot had these EAR plugs, but they were half hanging out of his ear. And I said, "Excuse me, Captain, you need to get those in your ear deeper. They don't do any good when they're half hanging out of your ear. You must get them in deeper if you want that to be your ear protection that you're using." So again, as we said, you roll them up and put them in your ears, and you can see some pictures here. And again, wearing muffs on top of the ear protection is the best. That to me is the best protection we can get, and or making and having us make an impression of your ear and sending it to an ear mold company to make ear protection that fits your ear perfectly. So let's talk a little bit about TTS versus PTS. And you're probably saying, wait, what are you talking about? Well, TTS stands for temporary threshold shift. What that means is that, let's assume you went to a concert and you sat right in front of the speakers. If I were to have tested your hearing before the concert and had a baseline idea, you go to the concert, you're sitting right in front of that speaker, concert ends, you always kind of feel this dulling sensation in your ears may be ringing a little bit, and you say, boy, my hearing isn't as good as it was. And you're right, you have a temporary threshold shift. After a couple of hours, that goes away, you don't have that blocked up feeling, and your hearing is back to what you consider to be its normal level. If you keep doing that to your ears over and over and over, let's say night after night after night of going to a concert, you can end up with PTS, which is permanent threshold shift. So the same thing happens if you keep going to the shooting range and you're not wearing ear protection. When you finish, you say, I'm not hearing as well. Your ears may be ringing a little bit. And if you do this over and over and over again, that temporary shift becomes a permanent shift. And that's when you end up with the hearing loss. And there's not much we can do about that once we have that permanent threshold shift, other than to talk about hearing devices. So our goal is, let's protect that hearing. Let's use those EAR small spongy plugs. Let's use earmuffs on top of that to really protect your ears. Remember, though, that if for some reason at any particular time you do end up with ringing in your ears and it doesn't go away after 24 hours, you may need to want to give us a call so that we can test your hearing and see what goes on with your hearing. But that is TTS versus PTS. So again, remember, it is the firecracker that maybe goes off near your ear, the lawnmower, the leaf blower, at the range when you're shooting. And remember, again, as I've said, you may be wearing the protection, you may take it off because you're done shooting, but the guy next to you shoots, and that ends up being a problem for your ears. Or you've got that rock concert that's really loud and you happen to have great seats, but they're right near the speakers. Please feel free to come into the office, mention that you've seen this and listened to this chat, and we'll give you a free pair of the EAR plugs, okay? So mentioning that you saw our chat will give you that free ear protection. We'll even show you how to put them in your ears and how to roll them up in your ears. If by chance your ears are ringing, you will notice it when you're in that TTS, that temporary threshold shift. But if you find that past a certain period of time you have ringing in your ears, come in and see us. Sometimes that means you were exposed to some loud noises at some point, and now the hearing is changing slightly, and we need to talk about what we can do, getting you better ear protection maybe talking about hearing devices. But again, if they're ringing, you need to come on in and see us. So it's time. It's time to do something. Don't just sit there and say, yeah, I'm going to go to that concert and it's really loud. No, that's okay. No, it's not okay. You can still hear the concert great. I'm only taking you down maybe 15 to 20 decibels. And when it's playing at 150 decibels, 140, even 130, taking it down 10 to 15 isn't going to make it sound any less valuable to you. So it's time. It's time to do something. So how do you know if you've had hearing loss from exposure to loud noise? Do you have difficulty hearing people? Do you often say, pardon me? Huh? I didn't understand what you say. Are you asking people to repeat themselves? Are you watching TV at a louder volume where your family says, oh my goodness, that TV is so loud? Or are you having some difficulty on the phone? If you answered yes to any of these questions and you've been exposed to noise, or you currently are exposing yourself to noise, give us a call. Come on in. Talk to us about what we can do to help you protect that hearing. So again, Hearing Partners of South Florida has 3 locations in Jupiter, in Delray Beach, and in Boynton Beach. What you see right now are the addresses of where the offices are located and the phone numbers. Give us a call. Let us know what we can do to help you. Mention this chat and we'll give you a free pair of EAR plugs, show you how to use them, and make sure that you're protecting your ears, because that is so very important, so that you don't have to say, oh, what did I do? We know it's time to do something now. Give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you for joining this chat today.